Ça va, everybody? My name is Roman Edirisinghe.
I'm Justin Gagne.
Welcome to Seemingly Seamless, how we improve the learner experience
And made our lives easier.
Bonjour, ahoy, hello. Thank you for joining us for our case study talk, Seemingly Seamless, how we improved the learner experience and made our lives easier. My name is Roman Edirisinghe. I'm the Director of Technology for Aquent Gymnasium. For those that are not in the know, Aquent is a creative staffing agency, a global staffing agency, and Gymnasium is its sort of free education wing. I joined Gymnasium in 2021. I had no prior experience with Open edX before then, maybe a little bit of Python, but I was mostly a web developer, kind of JavaScript, HTML, CSS, that kind of thing. So what ensued was a crash course, not just into Open edX, but also into how Gymnasium had customized the platform. Welcome. Context, I started working on the web in the early days, 1996. So this is like Web 1 or less than 1, I don't know. I have a background in art, not computer science. And I'm largely self-taught, which is maybe not unusual, but I do want to acknowledge that there may be better or different ways to do what we did. With that, oh, sorry.
Oh, it's all right.
Oh, it's jumping around. There we go. Here we go. Sorry,
And I'm Justin Gagne. I'm the design lead. I joined Gymnasium in 2015. I was originally brought in for the Open edX migration. So I've been with Open edX from like day one, problems, triumphs, exciting platform to be in. So excited to be here. Like Roman, I've been working with the web since, circa 1998. So Web 1.10, I'm a designer developer hybrid, so front end, visual design, code, whatever, have fun. And currently I'm a lecturer at the University of Creative Communication in Prague. So I'm also an educator. I've been in education or higher education for 20 years, teaching design. So this kind of work is amazing because I get to teach and do design all at the same time.
Indeed. Together we're Gymnasium, or at least part of the team. As I said before, Aquent's free online learning platform. And this is an example of what the homepage looks like, the marketing site, and the Open edX experience as well.
Yeah. And we offer free online courses, tutorials on design, development, UX, prototyping, accessibility, career skills. So really a coding school, and if it wasn't clear, free online courses.
Additional context about Gymnasium, our reach since 2013, we've reached over 160,000 students in more than 200 countries and regions and issued over 20,000 credentials. And some of these credentials have had real world impact in people's lives.
Yeah, and these are certificates and badges.
And a good example of that is a student bragging on LinkedIn about their certificate in UX fundamentals. Congrats to Salma in Egypt.
Yeah, so upskilling, in turn, getting possibly a better job out of this. So it's awesome. And this is really why we do what we do, right? It's really about the learner.
But let's also talk about why we're here, and that kind of ties in with presumably what you read in the description, which is we're talking about integrating Open edX with a separate marketing site, which is effectively what we did. So an overview, to break it down, we ended up upgrading from Hawthorne to Redwood. We'll go into that in more detail later. We separated the marketing site and LMS, the Open edX platform. And then we unified the UX with a seamless login-aware experience, did some course catalog refreshments,
so
redesign.
With all that work, we could do the refresh, essentially, right? And then
Definitely. We leveraged the micro front ends, the MFEs, using YAML and JSON to customize them even more than they were able to be customized at the time we started. So what happened was, well, it actually worked. So it was a seamless transition. We did a design refresh, and when we launched, there were 0 support tickets issued by students, and we thought that was pretty decent.
No, it was incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
It was seamless.
It's a pretty good
like,
outcome,
like,
I thought.
like, you know, a year's worth of work and nothing happened, right? There was no blinking. I mean, just like nothing happened on the student end. So it was incredible.
Yeah, but not to brag, but let's
Yeah.
brag a little bit.
Yeah.
Was the support request support button?
I wondered about that. I wondered about that.
Intercom was running.
The
Email was
intercom was
running.
running,
We
for
had
sure.
support staff.
Yeah.
Like it was crickets. Like
Yeah.
silence.
So we were a little dumbfounded, but it was
Yeah.
cool. It was a cool moment and an opportunity to pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah. But we felt that way. We're like, is something wrong?
Yeah.
Right.
So a little bit of additional context that when we started, we were already heavily customized. So in 2013, Gymnasium launched on a custom-built proprietary platform, and that was not Open edX.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, it was.
That was
It was
heard
like the top.
nightmares.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it was really difficult because completely, you know, with another provider, even changing content, it was not. Nothing was in house.
right.
It was. Yeah.
And I think this is the year you joined
Yeah.
Gymnasium, the Gymnasium team, which is when we initially launched on Open edX, which might have been Ficus. Was that right, or was it some? I don't.
Yeah, it's a hard one to say,
Yeah.
but we originally worked with OpenCraft to spin
Yeah.
up our initial instance to see the demo.
Right. So I think Xavier set up our first kind of test instance of Open edX. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Additionally, we were around this time featured in an Open edX conference talk entitled "Building the Plane While Flying It," and who you see here is Mike Bifoco talking about what had been done at the time to customize the platform the way we did. Now, our talk today is somewhat a continuation of that talk. After all civilization is built
Yeah.
on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah, this is like a part 2. This is
Yeah.
the MFE version of
Sure.
edX
Yeah,
customization.
Moving forward a little bit is when 2018 is when we upgraded to Hawthorne, right?
Yep.
And then after that in 2020, I joined the team, and in 2025, earlier this year, is where we upgraded and deployed Redwood, and then our whole thing, which is what we're talking about.
Yeah, so we stayed behind for a long time, right? So
yeah.
we didn't catch up to what was going on in the community.
And we'll kind of talk about why it was hard to upgrade too, but we don't want to get into
Yeah.
all the details now. But, and then stick around for more surprises. 2025 is still happening, as you know. And why don't we get lost in the weeds now? We can talk about some more details about Open edX. So we mentioned our theme was heavily customized. For those, are you familiar with what a static site generator is? An SSG. It's essentially a tool that allows you to generate a website of just HTML pages. And that's what we were doing. We were using this static site generator called Jekyll to inject fragments of HTML into the LMS and thereby customizing. That's what we were doing in our Hawthorne version. But it meant a couple things, which is that our marketing site and LMS were one and the same, the
Yeah.
way we were dealing with it, and that it was really hard to upgrade. It was brittle. Also, we couldn't generate new marketing pages quickly. We had to rely on our hosting provider to make some config updates, and that took hours or days depending on their availability. So it was a slow release process for us. And like I mentioned, upgrading was a challenge. We were, though, inspired by all the changes that were coming up with Open edX, right? How many versions, right? So we'll talk about that. We had kind of brainstormed some core requirements of what we wanted in the new platform. And so what we ended up calling Gymnasium version 3, which is the Redwood-based system. First, we needed to do the upgrade. So that was one thing. We had 7 years plus of data that needed to be migrated from version to version.
Yeah, so this is a major update.
We also wanted to be able to deploy a marketing page quickly. We didn't want to wait for a hosting provider. We kind of felt like we needed to ask mom and dad permission to leave the house to go, to the party or something.
To make a page.
Just mom
what I
and
mean?
dad.
It's like, we got this.
And the other thing that we were realizing is that if we were going to have a separate marketing site, is that we wanted it to be seamless. We wanted to not have it feel like separate sites effectively. So that's what we're talking about today. And we're going to talk about this seamless transition, and we wanted it something easy to scale, right?
Did we miss a down slide?
Did we miss a downside?
We're okay?
No,
Oh,
I don't think
okay.
so.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, thanks for checking. I don't think we missed the downslide. So in the end, we did build something that was seamless. It was easy to scale, and we relied on design for the win. Let's talk about our design approach.
Yeah, so I think part of this is this idea that good design and good markup provide structure to content, and good markup is fundamental part of good design. We believe that it's beautiful on the inside and beautiful on the outside. We're kind of craftsmen. We care about the work that we do, not super into super abstraction. I mean, I know that currently everything is React based, but it's like can be done vanilla.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea here is really it should be easy to read. It should be easy to build. It should be easy to use in the end, and that's sort of our design philosophy or sort of our guiding principle. And it really is about people first, right? About our students, our learners,
And us.
and really it's us. We're the people behind it. We're authoring courseware. We're dealing with the front end. We're doing the work. So it needs to be friendly.
Indeed. And just for context, Gymnasium is a small team of 5 people and a couple of additional helpers here and there. So it needed to be something that worked for us, and it was.
Yeah.
Also, the stuff we wrote needed to be able to be machine friendly too in the end, and we'll talk about that.
And we're big believers that design and development is a conversation. So Roman and I don't work just purely in a silo. I don't just design stuff and hand it over to development. We work in sort of tandem. There's times where Roman will actually do a prototype and do a pass, and I'll do refinements. So
Yep.
we work as a really good team.
Indeed, yeah. There's this idea in the Scrum Agile ethos of this idea of T-shaped people or cross-functional teams, and our Gymnasium microcosm was very much that, because I think everyone had multiple stacking, overlapping skill sets, and so we could really collaborate well in that way.
Yeah, and
this-
everyone on the team was part of design and development at some point.
Yeah.
So we're all sort of eating our own dog food.
To quote Andrew Miller.
Right.
Yeah, our great leader. So we talked about content first, a human readable thing. And we also talked briefly about preferring core web technologies over frameworks, this is kind of how we're led to talking about or deciding to use a static site generator again,
Yeah.
but in a different way than we were before. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about choosing 11D, which is a static site generator. There are many.
Any 11D fans out there?
Has anyone heard of 11D?
Anybody using it? No. Anyone Jekyll? Yeah.
Okay, Jekyll,
Yeah,
cool.
Jekyll, yeah. We came from Jekyll.
We came from Jekyll.
Yeah.
So 11D is super fast. So we don't need to evangelize 11D now. So to provide context, this is where we started. This is what our Hawthorne setup kind of looked like. We had the platform, and then we had Jekyll, and the platform would pull in fragments of HTML into it, and we would put in special messages before, after, during exams, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So essentially, the marketing site is like crammed within inside the LMS framework, right? So
in terms of performance and deploying a new page, at minimum, it could take 30 to 45 minutes, and that's on a good day. Post 11D, it took us 2 to 3 minutes to deploy a marketing page. And this is to production, which is, in my mind, it's unfathomable. I still don't believe it in a way.
Yeah, but as a teaser, when designing in crisis, those minutes matter.
Yeah, indeed. And so this is us deploying by ourselves, not relying on a host to deploy the end result. We want to talk briefly about the Hawthorne to Redwood migration. And implied in an upgrade is a migration and vice versa. So you effectively, for those not familiar, you have to step through every single version. You have to import the data, transform it, check it, export it, check it, import it, and just so on and so forth. And so these are all the versions we went through. Hawthorne, Ironwood, Juniper, Koa, Lilac, Maple, Olive, Palm, Quince, Redwood. Could you imagine going through these manually and checking to ensure the data is...
And installing them, right? And going through them.
We would like to thank our very special friend and collaborator, Amir Tedrisi, who actually did all of that for us.
Yeah.
And he wrote some really amazing scripts. And should you need his services, he comes highly recommended. There's a link to his details in the README for this at the end of it, and we'll show you that.
Yeah. Amazing person.
Now let's talk about how we achieve that seamlessness in our Redwood upgrade. Having upgraded, how do we make the static marketing site and the LMS think they're one thing? And for context, this is kind of what we figured out we had to do for various reasons. So on the left, you can see the static site, 11D or Astro. We were looking at Astro as a potential, which is another static site generator. Check it out, it's cool, but it's also...
Didn't really meet our design principles.
Yeah, I think maybe it was too fancy or like too flashy or something. I think we wanted more simplicity and more just sort of basic core web, HTML, CSS, JavaScript.
Yeah.
So you can see this arrow of login state shared. But you may also notice that we're seeing the CSS and static assets going from the static site to the edX platform experience. And there are reasons for that.
Yeah. And we also see that the edX platform grew, right? There's a theme and there's also MFEs on top. So the platform itself got more complicated.
Right. And for those unfamiliar, MFEs are micro front ends that are built on React. They're kind of single page applications that handle, but maybe you already all know this. I don't need to preach to the choir. If you don't know this, then there's plenty of information to find out more about that.
Happy to talk about it.
So what we ended up doing is we ended up disabling the default CSS in the micro front ends. Why would we do that?
Because we love to write our own.
Yeah, we do love to write our own, but there's another reason, and one of those, several reasons. One of those is that we wanted to leverage the fast build time that 11D had. That 2 to 3 minute deployment we could take advantage of. And when you're building it locally, you have results in milliseconds. So it was great. But there's actually another reason too, and we started running into this time and again, and maybe some of you have already run into this, but when you're working with the micro front ends, they've all been developed by different teams for various reasons. And so you have many flavors of implementation, and the header and the footer, et cetera, aren't always consistent. And we wanted that consistency. Here is another issue, though, is that this is Braden McDonald, the CPO of OpenCraft, had logged this issue, and we kind of discovered this in parallel. The Learner Dashboard MFE injects SAS or SASE CSS 10 times. And so the payload in the end of CSS served to the end user is much bigger than it should be. And this issue still hasn't been resolved. So one reason, that was just yet one more reason why we decided to kill the CSS of the micro front ends and then serve our own.
Yeah.
You know,
Like leverage the new stuff, but don't get pulled into everything.
and that single source of truth applied to not just the visual and the CSS, but also some of the content.
Yeah.
So we ended up using YAML plus JSON as a source of truth. YAML stands for what, yet another markup language, and JSON,
JavaScript object notation.
that's it.
Perfect.
JavaScript object notation.
There's a quiz at the end.
And the way we applied this to our situation is that YAML was or is the maintainer's source of truth. We use the YAML. We write in the YAML. And then our 11D, the way we configured 11Ds, we ended up having it build JSON from the YAML, which then is exclusively consumed by the edX platform at build time, which does take some time, but that's neither here nor there. We also built some custom React components, and more importantly, we decided to serve up various components from one place. For those that are familiar, the micro front ends currently will pull in a front end header, a front end footer,
Yeah, all separate.
and there are all those, there are references to those plugin slots, but we ended up deciding to create one repository that would then serve up the header and footer components, any additional things like custom 404 errors, a status banner, which will give you live updates of whatever we want to give live updates about, and then any additional overrides to core micro front-end behaviors. And this is all by consuming that JSON at build time. I want to refer to, we were checking out Adolfo's talk on the front-end base, which seems to be a cool new direction that the platform might be going, hopefully will be going. And that looks really interesting, but this is all stuff we did before that was even around.
Exactly,
right?
but
It was
so
like a,
similar concerns are
Absolutely.
happening in the community, which is great.
we reference this idea of login awareness, how to make a static site aware that the user is logged in.
Yeah, we effectively removed the marketing site from inside of OpenEdX, so there's all that logic, and there's no more logic. So how do we talk back to OpenEdX?
And it can basically be summed up with this picture. This is a cookie. Some of you may call it a biscuit, depending on where you live geographically. But we ended up using cookies, and then in the config for in our patches for the platform, we ended up adding our static site domain and URL to the cores headers in OpenEdX. And so here's an example of what that patch looked like. So root domain here is the gymnasium.com, and then root URL and marketing site base URL are the fully qualified with the protocol HTTPS the gymnasium.com. We talked about the navigation, and so we're going to do a little deep dive into it and how we got that consistent header nav. Here's a screen cap of what that looks like before an individual logs in.
Yeah. So that gives us consistency too, right?
Here's the YAML of the navigation. I'm going to step through the various sections of YAML, each of which then gets processed in turn by 11D and then later by the micro front ends and the platform. So here's the courses, the public nav before you log in, the private nav, and our courses. We had full courses, short courses, and tutorials.
Yeah, this is like the secondary navigation.
And then the rendered JSON for each of those sections, the main nav, the pre-logged in nav section, the private nav, the courses, and then the result of that. So here is that's the home page, is that right?
Yeah, it's the homepage.
And then logged in versus not logged in. And then here's the dashboard when a student
Is logged in.
is logged in. We don't send them, when you click on our logo, you don't go to the dashboard. You end up going back to the home page. So that was another thing we did. And then when you're in the dashboard, you get the subnav of the profile and account sections. And if we did have more micro front ends, we could add them there. Here's the course nav in the end with
Yeah, so this is before you would actually enter the LMS. You'd go to class and then you're actually in Open edX.
All right, let's go briefly over our footer and then we can show some of the other changes we did. So the footer, YAML is very similar, except it gets processed a little bit differently. We first render all the YAML as HTML, and then we embed that escaped HTML inside the JSON, which then gets consumed by the micro front ends and spits out this footer that then that's our footer everywhere. In the micro front ends, on the marketing site, etc.
And at the same time that we're doing all this work, we're doing a little bit of a design refresh, sort of a soft redesign. This is our pre-Hawthorne, and then sort of Redwood, just a little bit of cleanup, acknowledging platforms that we're using, awards, etc. So just, but it allowed that kind of work to actually happen. It kind of forced my hand, like, we're already tinkering in there, just refresh the design.
Yeah, good call.
All right, so it felt good.
Okay, let's talk about the catalog. And some context is that we are serving up our own catalog in our marketing site. We're not using the built-in course catalog in Open edX. So this is one of the prototypes that you were working with in the early days?
Yeah, so there was a round of UX research and prototyping, and again, it was this perfect opportunity to actually roll this out, put this into production.
We also had some user research.
Yeah, this is sort of a little bit of a shot from that, and then this is sort of the production implementation of it. But again, the tools were so good, it was no brainer to build it out. This is our Take 5 section. There's a 5-minute tutorials, gym shorts, full courses, so that went throughout the whole catalog. So it was a really nice upgrade for us.
And that was all generated using YAML files for each course.
Yeah, just content first, and then we just pipe it into the MFEs and just make consistency, right?
Now, I guess we'll talk about this later, but it's possible that you could use like a CMS to do something like this, which would then be consumed by Eleventy.
Sure.
So you could have it be less codey, right? You could have people actually use a CMS as a step before this if we really wanted to do that.
Sure, but
Yeah.
this is
This is how we did it.
human readable, and it's like looking at Markdown.
Courseware?
Sure. Let's
Yep.
go.
Yeah.
Let's fly through this
Yeah,
one.
let's fly through this. So this is our Hawthorne course nav, and you'll note that there's a syllabus link in there.
Yeah.
That syllabus link, this is the syllabus in detail. It was actually an overloaded updates section because at the time we started working with Open edX, there weren't any custom pages for courses. So we kind of did some weird, I don't want to call it weird. It was kind of hacky, but we pulled it off.
Yeah, we just took the updates and just filled in a syllabus so that when students are logged in, they would know how the course would work and get the materials they needed.
But in the end, it made it hard to upgrade.
Yeah, because that was inside a studio essentially, right?
Right.
So we had content was in two different places. There was no source of truth anymore. So
In the end, though, the MFEs kind of made that process easier, right?
It did. We were at the point where the comprehensive theme was still there, but it was lingering.
Right.
And
I
we
think there were
wouldn't-
parts of the theme that we ended up just shutting off because we didn't want the student linking back to this other experience.
Yeah, and then we had to style it. I mean, it was just a lot of work, so we just went all into the MFE.
I think one such example is the bookmarks. We ended up just disabling bookmarks altogether.
Yeah.
And that was a choice, an active choice we did. And certainly, maybe there's ways of solving that in the future. Maybe like building a bookmarks micro front end. Right?
And real quick, this is just a sort of a design of the actual syllabus or the lessons themselves. And you can see here that we have 2 competing CTAs where a student can enroll, but they can also start the course, which is really dangerous because they could start the course, but they're not actually enrolled. So we needed to kind of get rid of that as well.
And in the end.
Yeah, so we ended up just sort of graying stuff out, disabling it. You can't touch it, but you can actually start to see the actual syllabus. So a student comes here, they can still see like what are they going to be learning with, Ethan Marcotte with design systems.
Yeah.
But it's clear, enroll, and then you can begin the course.
Yep.
So nice little enhancements like that.
Good work.
Well, we just started to get into the actual LMS work, so
Yep.
there's a lot more to be done.
We're going to talk about effectively what happened now, right? So after launch, we had minimum downtime, right? It maybe took, yeah, and running seamlessly, and we had 0 support tickets. So we talked about that previously. We didn't have any visual or technical problems, but mostly this is what really got us.
I know, but still, this is really important. Like, after sort of the audits, there was nothing wrong. Nothing was missing or, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's how we did it. But wait, Justin, I want to talk about one more thing.
Seriously, we're out of time.
Well, I know, but just a couple minutes.
Come on, man.
Well, I mean, we really need to show this.
Thursday, Little Friday, right?
I know he wants to go, and I know you're all bored to tears, but just hang on a minute. So I want to talk about the site banner. This is another thing that we built pretty similarly, right? Except this is different in the sense that when we generate the YAML for the site banner, this is an example of what the HTML looks like, but it actually gets rendered in real time. So the micro front end ends up making a live call, and then fetches the content and renders it.
Yeah, so this is everywhere. This is on the marketing site. This is through
The micro front ends.
yeah, micro front ends
yeah.
everywhere. It's seamless. I mean, so how long does it take to deploy that?
As long as it takes to deploy 11D, which was 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. But let's talk about what this says. Some things have changed, but our courses and content remain free. We no longer offer credentials. Please see our FAQ for details. What does that actually mean for what we're talking about? Some of you are probably wondering, like, why, if these guys are talking about a site that offered credentials, why are they no longer offering credentials? Well, we'll get to that. Turns out that free costs money, and everything comes at a cost. And sometimes budget cuts will lead to a surprise company reorganization, and our entire department was let go and retired. So if it's not clear what we mean by this, it means that these titles are actually meaningless. We're no longer affiliated with Aquent Gymnasium, and that we're here as free agents demonstrating what we did.
Yeah, so we needed to come and tell you our story.
Because it's a little bit unusual, right? We took a thing and then we did things with it, and it worked. But also, it's not necessarily the way things have been done. So we had no more LMS, no more credentials, but thankfully the parent company decided to make everything public. So Aquent's mission to continue free online education continues. So you can visit the site now. It's still fully open, but all of the content is effectively served through YouTube videos.
Caballo.
And so it's still free,
Yeah.
right? Let's talk about
Open edX.
let's talk about the ARC. 10 years later, a decade later, Open edX is really much easier to customize. I mean, there still are headaches, but man, it's so much easier than before. So thank you for sure.
Yeah, seriously, the work that I've been through, it's like
Night and
we're
day.
edX is they're actually catching up to what we wanted to do. So like we're in like this perfect place, and it's like, man, it's
Yeah.
so
It's bittersweet in a way.
But again, it's awesome to see the actual community moving in this direction, which is going to make customization incredibly easy.
Totally, for sure. So we'd like to extend some thanks to the Gymnasium team, Andrew Miller, Jeremy Osborne, Keir Cullen-Janey, Peter Berzlon, Amir Tadrisi, and Mike Bafoco. I also thank Aquent, Open edX, AppSembler, and OpenCraft. For us, this is more than a job. We love doing this type of work, and we're available. I mean, come on.
If you need anything, let us know.
Yeah,
we're,
for sure.
we're happy to hook it up.
So merci beaucoup.
Yeah, merci.
And should you have comments and questions, you can reach us via LinkedIn. But if you scan this QR code, it'll take you to the README for this talk. This talk was done using reveal.js, which you can run on a local server on your machine. And you can do some cool things with it.
Yeah.
And we've got links to other things too, including Amir, should you need his help for migrations and upgrades.
Yeah, and we're going to sort of abstract the work we did for Gymnasium and kind of make a boilerplate for the work that we've done as well. So we'll release that later on.
Yep. Questions, comments, concerns. And we'll throw you this cool Nerf microphone.
I want one. No, but for later. They're really nice.
Really?
One.
No.
Not really a question, but our experience with clients is like what you guys are doing is actually best practice. And that's what we say to our clients. That whenever they want a marketing site, it's don't try to jam it into the LMS. And of course, sometimes it's $50,000 to build the front end, and sometimes it's something that's that they can do in-house. But in general, I think it's the principle that keep it separate. It's easier to upgrade and move forward with the LMS, and also then it gives you a lot more flexibility on the marketing side. So
Indeed. Thank you. Yeah. We fully agree with that.
No, and we ran into that when we, effectively got shut down and we decided to put the work public. I mean,
it was up in a week.
Yeah.
Less. I don't know. We had to disable the login button, but we did that in the YAML.
Yeah.
Right. We just changed the YAML and deployed the site, and no one could log in anymore. So we were also, I think one of the subtexts is we were also using a provider called Netlify to actually deploy our static site. And Netlify was quite useful in that you can do redirects and that kind of thing in the static site itself. And that was also the other part of the login awareness bit. But if you have questions about how we did that, we can kind of explain that at length some other time.
But the fact that it was seamless, it was resilient, it allowed us to move really quickly and make sure our students had still a great experience. We could shut down the LMS really, smart, share messages. So it was awesome.
Any other questions or comments, concerns, criticisms? We'll accept tomatoes.
I just want to say that the first time I saw the site and I was told it's an Open edX site, I'm like, no way. Like, it just did not look anything like an Open edX site. So I think you guys did a beautiful job. I think it'd be cool if you could somehow share maybe like how we can view the courses on YouTube. Is it just from the Aquent site?
Yeah, you just go to the gymnasium.com,
It's the old Gymnasium?
and
Okay.
when you go to it's all there.
Okay. 'Cause
Yeah,
the
and
course
it's
is-
actually the videos are embedded. The playlist is embedded in the page, so you don't have to leave the site. Like, 'cause don't even go to YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stay.
No, the courses are very, they're lovely. They're beautiful.
Yeah,
you.
no, I
Yeah.
mean, we have expert instructors. IQA most. It's a labor of love.
Indeed. Well, if there isn't anything else, I think we can release you into the void of the world. But thank you all for coming, and thanks for sitting so patiently through that.
It's a lot of
whatever
stuff.
that was.
But really, if anyone needs any customization, any help, just let us know. Or if you need any guidance, we're here to help.
Cool. Thank you.
And thank you all for coming. Really.
Yeah. Awesome.
I think when we started, it was like 2 people attending, so it's like,
And it was the two
you know
of
what I
us.
mean?
Sorry.
Like, this is our funeral. Like, we want more people to show up. So seriously, thank you, because this is such a great community.
Yeah. Very cool.